Hey everybody, it's Shadowstar and Crystal, and it is finally time for us to begin our reviews of Legends of Tomorrow. Oh boy, we've been building up to this. It's clearly one of our favourite shows in the Arrowverse. It's one of the best.
Because it's got Sarah all the time.
Relax, let's go in order. Obviously, this show, as we've built up, is huge. It's one of our favourites. It's just...
Okay. Here's how we go in order. First...
Relax, I've got this. But still, can we just appreciate how amazing this show is? This show in itself...
I'm trying to.
This show in itself is like one big crossover. Already, the pilot's like one crossover already as a whole show. And it evolves from there. But we'll go in here's the thing that makes this pilot different but more amazing than most other pilots. Because in a way, because it's more of a spin... I know Flash is a spin-off of Arrow, but this is a true spin-off of both the shows. Because of this, with the exception of Rip, we are familiar with basically all the main characters, which means you don't have to start half the season giving a setup and build-up and learning all the characters. We know of them, especially bigger characters like Sarah and Ray, who've had a lot of build-up.
Unless you do what we did and start with this show, so it took me a while to learn who everyone was.
But we'll go in order. As the show begins by telling us who our villain is, a villain we've already seen, Vandal Savage. We saw him in a crossover. And here's the thing, whether you've seen that crossover or not, that opening scene does a really good scene of setting up the villain.
Yeah, because there's a guy that's randomly on fire.
That's a funny moment too. But, okay, here's the thing. I know people flip-flop on how they feel about Vandal Savage, and I can understand why he's not one of the bigger villains, but I actually still kind of enjoy him, and I have to give credit to the opening scene. Here's the thing I like. Think about the scene where he kills the kid who we learn about later. Think about that scene. Although he kills him, he does it in a kind of calm and almost slightly respectful manner.
Yeah.
It's a characterization I like about Vandal Savage there. It's just business in that moment.
Yeah, it's just a business transaction. It's like he planned to kill this kid.
We'll learn more about why he does it, but it says something about his character. And obviously, we didn't get too much of Savage in this episode, but we'll build up to him.
He didn't just shoot him right away. He took the time to talk to him.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll talk about our quote-unquote... That's the thing, even though we've got a leader, this show doesn't have one main character. Everyone gets pretty much fair, equal treatment throughout the show.
But Sarah's the best.
We're not up to... Let's start with talking about Rip, the one character we're not familiar with.
Well, he is familiar with being in a time machine, considering he was Rory. He even told a funny story in a panel where he would see the script and he would accidentally read parts that say Rory.
No, that's what a panelist assumed he said, but he never said that.
No, he did say that happened.
Anyway, but here's the thing. Rip's also one of my favourite characters. We don't have much of him for now, but he becomes
He's okay for now. I don't particularly like him later on, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Fair enough. There's pros and cons to him, but I remember a lot of good things about him as well. But for this episode, he's all right. We have a good backstory when we learn about his kid and all that. And that's the thing. This episode, it's crazy, huge, action-packed, but they also managed to stop and do some slow scenes in such a huge pilot. It's a bit like the Flash pilot, where we have huge, amazing scenes, but we always have the slow scenes with, like, Barry's dad and all that. We get to have slow scenes, but they're really good ones.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Which give a lot of depth to all our characters. Like I said, we don't have to establish our characters. We know them, so we get to build on stories we already know, starting with Ray Palmer. He's building on the story we've had through... after he came back in season 4 of Arrow, about he's not sure what to do with himself. I mean, to be fair, a lot of these characters, their arcs were building to stuff they're going to do in Legends. Him wanting to find his place was established throughout season 4 of Arrow, and now we're finally getting to it. And the one thing I love is not just being a crossover with the characters we're going to have as our mains, but we got to have Oliver and Laurel in here. They get quick scenes too.
Yeah, and I think that the show does a good job of telling you what you missed if you are watching this on its own. Ray, in the case of Ray, he explained that the world thought he was dead and no one cared.
That's a good point, because if you think about it, the first episode doesn't get the benefit of having a previously. And while it's very useful to have seen the other shows, the show tries its best to help catch you up.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, because like you said, we both watched this before any other show. And because I knew these characters had been in other shows, I liked it. You know why? Because I didn't like the slow start. It's one thing why, if I want to test if I like a show, I don't start at the beginning. I watch a couple episodes in the middle to see what the show's like in action. Then if I like it, then I go to the start. And Legends does that because although it's still the first episode and Rip's new, all these characters are still in their prime. We don't have to build them up.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, we got some good scenes with Ray about him wanting to find a purpose, both with Oliver and then later on with Sarah when he has to question it a second time. It was good scenes. Although, okay, it does raise one tiny little thing. When Rip is collecting everyone, he zaps them and presumably knocks them out. What happens after it? It's not established that's a teleporting gun. And Oliver was even watching him on a screen.
Yeah, that was so dumb.
I mean, I guess Ray would have explained it when he had a talk with Oliver later on, but
Oliver would be like, okay, we lost Ray, what do we do?
yeah, I know, you'd think you'd be scrambling to find it, but whatever. Getting on to what you're waiting to talk about, who came next?
Sarah!
Calm down. Sarah.
First, she threw a glass at someone, and that was the first time I ever saw her, and it was amazing, and then I thought, I love this person.
Sarah, I mean, we've already established through, out of all the Legends characters, Sarah's had the most, because she got all of Season 2 with the with the flashbacks and the present, and then she's had some other stuff too. She's had probably the most back.
Yes, but I fell in love with her even without that.
I know, she's a great character, here's the thing I love about this show. This episode, except for the slow scenes in the middle, which were still good scenes, it's so action-packed. The bar fight, the fight when we're establishing our characters, the fight at the end with Chronos, there's so much. And, by Legends standards, it just seems like, it's a fight scene. But compared it to other shows, it's got so many fight scenes. And I love it. It's, you know me, I love big crossovers, I love team-ups, I love fight scenes. And that's what Legends is.
Yes.
It's all of that all the time.
But it just shows what a great actress she is, because to be able to portray that this is a deep character with a big backstory without me even knowing her backstory, that's amazing. Like, when I was watching this for the first time, I knew this character had something special to her, even though I didn't actually know what she had been through.
So, okay, I know, like I said, we love this, but I still like to put out little nitpicks. They did say that Cisco made her outfit, and Laurel makes this little thing about she doesn't need a mask, but Cisco made the outfit before learning that she's going to time travel. It makes sense she doesn't need a mask because she's always going through time.
Maybe he made the outfit with a mask, Laurel threw it away.
That's about the only explanation I can come up with.
There we go.
But, I mean, they never said that, so...
Laurel didn't bother to put the mask on the mannequin because she knew you don't need one.
And again, I like that this show keeps with the consistency that everyone else seems to forget. I know we don't have this problem and the show doesn't have this problem, but so many fans always refer to Sarah as the Black Canary. She doesn't. She was a canary, then she's a white canary. She was never Black Canary.
Laurel was Black Canary.
Exactly. But again, great scene with Sarah and Laurel, and another good scene, like at the end when they're questioning whether they should continue, Sarah was the first one to become the voice of reason.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, if you think Sarah's a good character now, her journey in Legends just gets better. It really shows where she's going. But
it's one of the reasons I love Season 2 so much, but I won't say anything more about that.
We can't praise Sarah forever, but let's talk about a lot of...
I can.
Well, let's move on to one of my favourite characters, Stein and Jax. Sure, we've only seen him in one episode, but obviously we're familiar with Stein, and you know us, we like Firestorm, it's fun. And we got to... That's the thing, every character got to have a... Think about how huge this is. This is a normal length episode that squeezed in like 2 or 3 scenes for basically every character, or at least every pair of characters.
Yeah.
Like Jax and Stein had quite a few good scenes, and we do continue the Arrowverse tradition of just don't drink anything. Every time. Also, whose car did Stein drive here in? Is it his car and he called Clarissa and said, hey, pick up the car when I'm gone? I don't know. But again, we're nitpicking. Another nitpick is they show up to the location with no bags.
And yet we later see them in other clothes.
And yet we know that Sarah has an outfit, Snart's got his hoodie, and the Hawks have their helmets and all that. But, yeah, there's no bags. I don't know. I mean, whatever, it's a tiny nitpick. But anyway, yeah, like I said, Stein's one of my favourite characters. We'll get to see him more, but they had good scenes again. And you know what I like? Jack's hesitancy might seem weird, but it's actually consistent. I mean, he was hesitant just becoming a hero.
Yeah.
So it's hesitant that this would still be another huge step in being a hero, even though, as we see, they've... Here's another thing about Jax, though, and Firestorm. We see that when they merge, they now have an outfit. Last time we saw them in that episode, Fury of Firestorm, they didn't. So I guess we just have to accept they do that now.
Yeah.
There's a few things that go unexplained, but it's not a huge deal. Moving on, we have the Hawks. Like we said in the crossover, we're not that fond of them. Kendra's all right. Carter, we don't care for at all.
Yeah.
And he's not that great in this episode either. But, oh well, they had some stuff, and obviously they're here because they tie in with Savage more than anyone else. But, again, I like that. I mean, obviously the writers planned everything, but, you know, I like that they used a character who seemed completely insignificant, being Aldous Boardman. Remember, we saw him in the crossover.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you saw that, you'd probably think he's just some insignificant person, and here he is, and we get to have a bit of a scene with him.
Yeah, it turns out he's their son.
I know, so that was a good scene. And like you said, the show does a good job of trying to fill in the holes. Because we don't have the bit where Aldous explains their backstory, we don't actually learn anything new. We learn pretty much all the flashbacks we'd already seen. All the Egyptian scenes are stuff we already saw in the crossover.
Yeah, he explained.
But again, it's mostly for the benefit...
she prayed for Horus to protect them, and that's why they reincarnate.
But yeah, it's mostly for the benefit of people who haven't seen or just need a refresher because we couldn't have it previously. And then, of course, we move on to Snart and Mick. Mick hasn't really done much. He's a bit like Jax, where he's only had a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
But as we've seen, Snart through the past 2 seasons has had an arc. And this is basically the build-up of that arc.
Yeah, whereas with Mick, for now, he's more like the comic relief idiot. He says things like, why does this channel only have reruns?
Mick often gets reserved to comic relief, and he's always going to fill that role, but you'll get to see Mick take on a bigger role. But it's funny seeing him now. If you're familiar with Legends and you've actually seen it before, look at Mick now and then look at where he is in season 4 and 5. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, I have to give a big... Obviously, one of the best scenes is the roof scene.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Again, another little odd bit is... Stein and Snart have never met, but there's a brief moment that implies they know each other.
Well, Stein is a
Okay,
famous-ish physicist.
I can accept Stein knowing Snart because he worked with Team Flash, and actually, he was off-screen during the episode with Snart's dad and sister.
Oh, was he like...
He collapsed in the beginning of the episode, and then
Yeah, so the others would have told him.
So he probably
that's
got a
been
mention.
going
So
on.
I can accept Stein knowing Snart, but I don't know how Snart would somehow know Stein.
Well, like I said, he's a famous-ish physicist.
Still. And apparently we also get some backstory that apparently Ray and Stein know each other. Or at least Ray knew Stein.
Yes, apparently Ray was in one of Stein's classes years ago, but Stein doesn't remember him, which is fair. You don't remember all your students.
We'll get a lot more Stein backstory very soon. But, you know, still, there's a lot. Every scene is... There's not a single...
Everything they say is important. Like, every tiny thing means something.
There's not a single boring or dull scene. Even the slow scenes are still really good scenes.
Just, like, one of my favourite things is near the start. Rip names 3 names. 2 of them are real people. One of them, Perdegaton, is not a real person. And we think, what the hell is that?
We haven't even touched on another character, Gideon, which, again, the show doesn't really explain if there's any connection to the Gideon we've seen on Flash.
Yeah.
But still, it's a nice character. And again, it's a minor thing, but look at Gideon now and look at her later. She's just very slow and robotic here, but Gideon becomes a great character later on.
Yeah,
Funny
she gets
enough.
to be really sassy.
Yeah, but I mean, she kind of had a little bit of a moment with Jax.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, if you want to talk about good Sarah scenes and good scenes in general, we have the bar fight scene.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That sets up another thing Legends love. They love bar fights.
Oh, yeah.
And they love good music. That's the thing, because we're time traveling, we have good music. I love time travel.
Oh, hell yeah.
And speaking of time travel, that's the thing about this show is, unlike Flash and Arrow, where the show, even though we've been watching Arrow episode by episode, still it blows together in my head. Whereas I can distinctively think of each episode, mainly because I time travel, it helps each episode stand apart. Anyway, we've raved on and on and on and on about this.
And there's still more that we didn't mention Chronos.
Oh, we didn't get too much, but we know he works for the Time Masters. And we get a great fight scene. Like I said, a fight scene. Everyone was in that fight scene. You know, Mick, Snart, Ray. Everyone was there. Firestorm. It's a huge fight. It goes by quick, but man.
And one more small thing I want to touch on. We say Vandal Savage is the villain, but you know who the real villain is? Malcolm. He brought back Vandal.
Like I said, there's a few things that go unexplained, and this is another one. We don't establish how, because at the end of the last crossover with Savage, it implied that Malcolm was going to somehow do something to help Savage resurrect, because it's unclear if Savage can do it on his own. I mean, in later instances, we can see he can come back on his own. He doesn't need some ritual, but maybe being burnt to a crisp needs some ritual. We don't know.
Yeah, Rip's words were, unless Kendra or Carter land the final blow, he can be resurrected from but a single cell, which is what Malcolm did. He can be resurrected, but he didn't have to be. If we had just left that burnt dust on the ground, he would have been... we would have had no Legends show.
Well, I don't know. But anyway, like I said, is there anything else you want to mention? Because we've raved on and on.
We've mentioned everything I can think of.
Like I said, aside from tiny little things that, they're not bad things, they're just we've poked fun of teeny tiny things, I can't think of an actual bad point of this episode.
Yeah, we're not going to go all cinema sins and say, hey, you weren't holding that before and now you're holding that. That does happen.
But
like, the Hawks had their outfits in the Chronos fight, even though they clearly didn't bring it with them.
But anyway, I'm really torn on what to rate this. I'm thinking either 9.5 or 10.
Oh, yeah. Because it is such a great opening. Because you've got to rate it on how well does it introduce the show.
Well, hang on. We both established we can't think of anything bad, so why not? I'm saying 10 out of 10 for the first goddamn episode.
I'll go 9.5 just because I like to be on the safe side and not say things are perfect.
Understandable. Like I said, if in our previous reviews I've said expect big ratings for Legends, and you better get used to it. Most of these episodes are going to be ranking high.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh boy.
I mean, this is what got me into the Arrowverse.
Yeah, we have a soft spot for Legends. It's one of our favourite shows. Some people find it hit or miss. Here's the thing. Some people find season 1 hit or miss, but going through the season, I have a feeling I'm going to remember loving it more than people do.
Yeah, currently season 2 is my favourite.
That's the thing. People don't like Savage and the Hawks, but I still love his season 1.
Yeah, season 1's okay.
Anyway, the next episode is for some reason called Pilot Part 2. For some reason they titled the pilots Part 1 and 2. I don't know. It's not like it leads literally right into the next episode.
Yeah, we did have a bit of a cliffhanger where Savage was holding, what was it, a bomb or something?
Some sort of nuclear warhead.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've rambled on and on. We don't want to drag out the length of this episode. We'll see you next time for more Legends and other things as well.
See you next time, guys!
See you next time.